But I think with that, we are going to now move into the next piece. So, Matt, there's a few other things. You just talked about Doctor Strange within the last segment there of what's going on during the week. What were some other things that you may have noticed that came out, you saw on the news, etc., that you want to go over, that you want to discuss?
Well, I was just reading up on, I don't know if are we allowed to talk about Moon Knight right now, or are we leaving that to a different
Yeah, no,
segment?
we'll do it, and I'll just kind of cut and paste and edit from there. So we'll be more than happy to do Moon Knight. So you lead us off.
Yeah. Well, I guess one of the Easter eggs in the most recent episode that stuck out to me was the introduction of a character called Ennead. And she is the avatar for the Egyptian god Hathor.
Uh-huh.
And I think I know about this because you had mentioned it in a TikTok a while back. But her avatar, I believe, is the sibling god of the Black Panther god, which
Bast.
Bast, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And in the comic books, Hathor is a big part of the Wakandan lore. And I'm pretty sure that god becomes an enemy of the Black Panther. So I'm wondering if they will be featured in the next Black Panther movie because of that.
Yeah, I did just see earlier today, kind of like looking up some things in regards to, where some of our favorite theories and stuff going on. And I think I did notice that as well. It seemed that could possibly be the divide or the reason as to why the Panther goddess Bast decided to kind of break from the Heliopolitans, from that group of Egyptian gods, and kind of go over to serve as the patron deity in Wakanda there. And so I'm not sure if we'll kind of see that meaning, but regardless, it seems that the Black Panther, kind of like serving as the avatar for that Panther goddess, is kind of taking a different approach, not really being as directly connected to their avatar, but nonetheless, I just kind of assume that the Wakandan warrior known as the Black Panther is kind of serving indirectly as the avatar for that Panther goddess Bast, and I did see that as well for kind of like I'd say not kind of rivalry, I guess, between Hathor and Bast, and so I wonder if it's going to be brought up, and wonder if any of these other gods are going to be brought up in very soon here. But I think I love to talk about the gods themselves, and I'm very happy you brought that up because there is a new movie coming out very soon in regards to the gods, and that's Thor: Love and Thunder. And I will kind of do another segment about that because there's some news in regards to that. But just in general, the gods are going to play a big part in Thor: Love and Thunder. And I'm curious, do you think the Ennead is going to have any cameo within that movie, knowing that Christian Bale's character Gore is going on a mission hunting down gods?
Yeah, I think that's the perfect way to connect those two pieces. I could totally see Christian Bale going on an angry god hunt, and one of his first victims being Ennead, because she just seems like a disposable character, unfortunately.
And it also seems like possibly an explanation. We don't really know what happened, like, to the other four gods in that meeting room. Like, whenever the Ennead is a group of 9, there's only 5 of them. So the 5 are Osiris, Isis, Horus, Hathor, and Tefnut. Those are the only 5 that we see. Now, there are kind of like rumors that, Khonshu and Ammit were part of that group, but they were, banished. But it still leaves 2 other ones that are left unaccounted for. And so one of the theories going around is that the other 4 were possibly killed by Gore the God Butcher a while back, possibly leading to them leaving Earth, whatever it may be, but possibly their homeworld, this celestial Heliopolis, where they reside in the Overvoid, might have been compromised, and so the other gods may have fallen victim to Gore the God Butcher already, which I thought was a very cool theory. One of my favorite ones that I've seen so far, and I think, as you alluded to, it's these kind of like these different shows or movies are a great way. They usually tie into each other, especially whenever they're kind of pretty, I'd say, within a close time frame of each other, of being released. And so I think it's a great way to kind of tie them in.
Yeah, I guess time will tell whether that is
Yeah.
the case. And maybe we'd have a hint at it if they released a Thor trailer, but we might walk into this movie blind.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what is going on with that. But it's there's it's a mystery. It really is a mystery with that with what's going on there. And I think we'll do another segment on that because there's a whole lot to discuss with that project and a lot of stuff going on. But I feel that the Gore tying in with the gods and just knowing like how prevalent the gods are in this show so far, especially episode 3, I thought it was really cool because now we're really diving into the supernatural. Before we had like the Asgardians that kind of were seen like aliens, not really as like the Norse gods themselves, but kind of as aliens that were able to kind of get here, through the Bifrost. But this one, it really seems that they're playing a different role, and they kind of have a different power within this group here, within this series in general. And I thought it was very, very cool with what they've been doing so far. What did you think of the last episode in general? Like, kind of what were your overarching thoughts? And you had the theory that you just saw that was just great, but there's anything else that you really liked about it?
No, I felt like the first 2 episodes were sort of like setting up the plot, and I think we're finally getting to the nitty gritty in the 3rd episode. Honestly, I've just been ongoingly impressed by Oscar Isaac's ability to actually like differentiate Mark Spector and Stephen Grant. It's kind of reminiscent of James McAvoy's performance in Split, where he has like multiple personality disorder.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a pretty impressive feat on Oscar Isaac's part.
I think his acting is absolutely phenomenal. Like, to go in between the 2 different characters like seamlessly. Obviously, there's probably some different takes of it, of whenever they cut it, but kind of the flow and transition of him going from one to the other, of one of his eyes like rolling to the back of his head, little seizure, and then he goes from Stephen Grant to Mark Spector and back. It's absolutely awesome, and I also love the humor of Stephen Grant too. That's one of my favorite things as well. Like whenever he's fighting, and in the most recent episode, and then he gets fucking impaled by the different spears. I thought it's like, all right, I'm done. Take it over again. You go for it. I think the humor and the acting on his part is exceptional. It's tremendous. Mm-hmm.
No, absolutely. And I wonder if he method acts outside of work, and if so, which persona is he practicing more? Does he resonate more? Does he find himself resonating more with Mark Spector or Stephen Grant?
I wonder that too. And you know how they say, some actors like stay in character, like offset. What do you decide to go in from? Like mid order? Do you think he goes like in a lunch order? He just goes mid from the. He's like, I'll take a salad. And I'm not even going to try a British accent there, but do you think he goes from the English...
Hey, want a salad? So you do...
Not today!
You don't want a salad? No, yeah, I want a salad. I just want a salad!
I think that would be great for him to go in between the 2, and I'm very curious as to whether the other people, that are actually British, what do they think of his accent? Because I know that, for Tom Holland, when he does an American one, pretty solid. Definitely fools the eye, or fools the ears, I should say. But for his British accent, do you wonder, like, it sounds great to me, but I'm curious if there are any British viewers that watch this. What do you all think?
Like, I'm not sure what dialect he's doing an impression of, mm-hmm. So I think maybe our viewers could illuminate that for us. But because it's a bit of an unusual British accent, but that could just be because it's like a unique dialect. Stephen Grant, British dialect.
Yeah, I'm not sure really how different they sound. I really just know British and Irish. Those I can distinct, but the other, really any local ones, I can't. And I'm kind of curious about some of the different.
Interesting. It seems like there's a fan theory on Reddit that his accent is deliberately bad because he's originally Mark Spector. And his British persona is completely fabricated. So it's Mark Spector trying to do a British accent. He's not like authentically British.
Oh, so people don't like it is what you're getting at. It's not good.
Well, it's like, you know, it's funny. It's like it sounds like it's objectively bad. It's just that MCU fans are trying to make it seem like it's intentional.
Oh, okay. Well,
That's just
kudos to them then for kind of
undying loyalty.
he's so he's so good that he's trying to do it purposefully poor.
It is so bad that it actually makes him an amazing actor. Try to be that bad.
Oh boy, that's amazing. You never know unless you're to interview Oscar Isaac himself as to what he's trying to do there. But I love how no matter what, even if it's bad, people are supporting him. So yeah,
if it's bad, it's good. If it's good, it's great.
Yeah. Oh boy, it's like if you're like in a math test, if you're to have the right triangle 3, 4, and it said, you know, and the hypotenuse is X, and they say find X, and so you just circle X instead of putting down 5, and that's what's one of those where it's like, you know what? I never thought of that, and that's a really good answer. I'm keeping that.
That reminds me of one of the first scenes in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse when he deliberately gets all the answers wrong on his math test. And his teacher's like, you know, you're smart but not smart enough, because if you had guessed randomly, you were bound to get a score that was significantly higher than 0.
Yeah.
So he had to essentially try. He had to know what the right answers were in order to get all of them wrong.
That's definitely a better analogy.
Acting version of that.
Yeah, that's definitely a better analogy and a great one because it uses Spider-Man too. So that's awesome.
Yeah, quick time knowledge.
I think in addition to the acting, which again I thought was great, sounds like we might have some people are skeptical about it. I thought the visuals for this stunning. I thought the visuals for the different scenes that we saw, especially with Khonshu kind of turning back the night sky there in time, I thought that was really, really cool. We saw in the trailer, but I was watching it late at night too, and whenever he pulled that maneuver, I was like, holy shit, this is awesome.
Yeah, man. They're spending the big bucks on CGI for us.
Yeah, and
I didn't think they would go this hard on the television front, but they are.
Yeah, and I'm very, very glad that they did, and honestly, like, I'm very curious as to how that would shape out. Like, do you think this, just like depending, just regarding, I'd say like how many I'd say scenes that cut from one location to the other that span over a few days. Do you think they could have made this into a movie, or do you think it's smart with what they've been doing of making it into a series?
I think making to a series is smarter because, like, it actually begs an interesting question of how do they plan on introducing new, like, what is going to be their default method for introducing new characters in the future? Because I actually can't remember the last time that we had an introduction to a new character in the MCU. I guess apart from Shang-Chi and the Eternals.
Yeah.
So, like, I guess, like, what is the decision criteria there? Like why is it that Moon Knight gets a TV series? Why is it that She-Hulk gets a TV series? Like, why aren't they getting movie releases?
Yeah, it kind of really seems to be related to, like, I wouldn't say origins because we have Captain America and Winter Soldier, and then I feel like that one might have been able to be a movie because we already know the characters. WandaVision I thought was really cool. That was a unique setup of kind of spanning the different decades for television. I thought that was very unique. And then Loki as well, like, I think just depending on, like, you know, the different time periods they visited, okay, that can make sense. Origin stories, like Shang-Chi, I mean, you needed the callbacks, which they did, like kind of like the callbacks to the character's past. And this one doesn't really seem like a whole lot of callbacks, but just kind of a lot of different locations, and it really just a lot of different locations that they're visiting.
Shang-Chi was also like a culturally, like, monumental movie because it introduced the first Asian American superhero in the MCU, I think.
Yeah, I think so as well, and I thought that was it was very well done. It was definitely that one was another, like, a very beautiful movie to see. Yeah,
that one, I think that might have been my favorite Marvel release of last year, apart from maybe Loki. Because Eternals is just
they try to do a lot with it. They try to do a lot, and I feel like we hadn't had that, like, fantastical element to it quite yet. Like, we have a lot of, like, OP characters, I think, for me. But I don't know, what were your thoughts to kind of keep going on what you thought, like kind of what didn't really add up for that movie or why it wasn't as good.
I think they were too ambitious in trying to introduce new characters. Like
Too soon, like too fast.
2 hours and change, and how many Eternals are there in the movie?
I think
There's like
9.
9 or 10. Like you can't give a meaningful backstory to 9 new characters in less than 2.5 hours. It's just hard to accomplish. Like if they featured all of them, sure, but I think they should have spent the majority of their time focusing on 1 to 4 characters. The plot itself was just I don't know. It was actually I'm glad that you bring that up because the guy that plays the dude with the mind control ability, what's his name? Druig, yeah. The actor that plays him was arrested in Dublin last week for
he was arrested in Dublin.
Yeah, for antagonizing someone while drunk. So now there is.
Was that him or was that Ezra Miller? Because I know it happened to Ezra Miller, but I think that was.
Yeah, well, I guess he's our Ezra Miller equivalent, but.
Oh no!
Yeah, people are doubtful as to whether Disney's going to keep him in the MCU because they don't want his bad press.
Oh geez, okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that. But I think just like he wasn't my favorite character. I'd say. I think that his ethics were somewhat like reasonable, but I just don't really think it was my favorite character overall. And yeah, don't get me started on Sprite.
Now. You know that, right?
I saw like part of the post-credits scene, but I have not seen the Batman yet. I have not. So
you haven't seen it?
No, I'm not. I was waiting for it because it comes out this Tuesday.
On this channel that you should.
What?
Is it sacrilegious for me to say on this channel that you should?
So here's the thing. This is what I think what really caused him to be is I was actually a bigger DC fan than Marvel, like to start because. No! And hear me out. The Batman trilogy, Christopher Nolan's trilogy, came out before Iron Man, so that's what I really gravitated towards to begin with, and it was such a phenomenal one that I was really hoping they create that consistency. But just Marvel has just done such a more stupendous job that I'm just always more thrilled for whenever this comes out. So recently, I did make the decision to go see Morbius over the Batman, and I saw it. If I had to do it again, maybe I would have seen the Batman, but I saw Morbius, but I still can't wait for the Batman to come out. So I will be watching it later this week, but I've not seen it yet, but I did see the Joker was played by the same actor, which I was very surprised by because it's, very, very different.
Yeah, no, it's a completely, I was skeptical as to whether the new Batman movie would be good just because they've abused the poop out of that character.
Yeah.
With Christian Bale and Ben Affleck and trying to build their own DCU. But actually, I think you'll really enjoy the unique take on the Crimson Cap Crusader. What the fuck? What are they calling again?
The Cape Crusader?
That one.
No, wait, isn't that Superman? Shit. Wait, is it the Cape Crusader? Cape Crusader is oh no, it is Batman. Okay, sorry.
It is good.
I just referred to it as the Dark Knight
channel, not a DCU channel.
Yeah, that's boy, we should have gotten that though.
Yeah, it has a very noir crime drama feel to it. I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to get too off topic of with the Batman there because that was, a great movie. I'm sure. I will be seeing it later, but. I think with regards to the rest of that third episode of Moon Knight, so we talked a little bit about the effects were absolutely stunning, humor is great, acting as well. I think plot-wise, you already brought up the Easter eggs that they're putting in. One of the things that I noticed is that I think with regards to the character development, we have Stephen Grant and Mark Spector. They're really starting to feed off of each other's characters very well, and they're starting to learn their strengths, which is one of the main things from the comics with Stephen Grant, Jake Lockley, and then also Mark Spector, in the sense that, one's the millionaire, so one has the money to fund all these missions. One's the cab driver who is able to kind of have all the street information, and the other's the mercenary who's the badass vigilante that houses all the fighting skills. this one, we learn that Stephen Grant, being the kind of the gift shop salesman, he has a lot of the knowledge of the Ennead, of the Egyptian gods, so that's why he's brought in to help out with kind of aligning that star map, which is awesome. And then you have Mark Spector, who, as I alluded to before, in that one scene, whenever Stephen Grant's getting impaled, he's like, all right, Mark, take over again, take over, start kicking these guys' asses here, and that's what he does. So they're really starting to play into each other's strengths very well, and I was very, very happy to see that within this episode. I'm not sure if you saw the same thing.
No, I completely agree. And it gets you excited for the potential interactions he's going to have with other MCU characters in future films and TV shows. I think his character is so unique that it'll make for a great dynamic whenever he's featured in other content.
Yeah, and I think since you're bringing up things that are being teased, one of the ones that I need to bring up, because my buddy Max always talks about it, is going to be Kang the Conqueror, and I just did a video on this possibly being teased within this episode. So, yes, we already saw kind of Kang's variant, He Who Remains, within Loki. But I believe there's another tease to this specific timeline for the MCU and their universe now, and that's with the Sphinx. And so something I didn't really notice learn about until recently, and whenever I learned more about Kang, is that whenever Kang kind of goes on his conquest. We will do an origin probably about him later on, but just to kind of keep it brief, before he begins his conquest, he learns about a time machine that was handed down by one of his descendants, and being bored with the timeline that he's in, I believe it's the 31st century there, as He Who Remains described, he decides to travel back in time to ancient Egypt, and he uses the time machine, but it's disguised as the Sphinx. And so kind of with there being a lot of kind of some skepticism, some rumors as to how it actually came to be within our Earth, that's how Marvel describes it in the comics as to how the Sphinx arrived, is it's actually Kang who brought it back disguised, as with the time machine there. And so I think that this is no coincidence, knowing that this is really what started Kang's journey to become the Conqueror. He served as the Pharaoh Rama-Tut. He actually angered a lot of gods, one of them being Khonshu, because the people started looking up to him as the god rather than the Egyptian god. So there is some connection right there in the comics to Khonshu. And then I think just in general, just to kind of have that connection come full circle, Marvel is very intricate with the details and the little things that they place within these, knowing that there's people like ourselves that are really watching the screens closely now. And so I think that this is no coincidence that it had that brief moment of the Sphinx, and knowing that the Great Pyramid is serving as the kind of the meeting place for these for the Ennead's avatars. I think the Sphinx, why could it not be a disguise for something else, for that time machine? So I think that there's a little bit more to it. We did see the Sphinx in Loki's episode, and then also another reference to Kang, that being the Chang Tower. So knowing that Kang was, his intentions were to, or I should say, He Who Remains' intentions were to kind of gather artifacts to prevent Kang from conquering the multiverse. I think with the Sphinx present, we have it again. And so I think, again, the connection, it just makes me believe that this is a definite Easter egg to Kang the Conqueror. So it's probably not something that will be brought up for a little while, but I think it will come back in a later project, just like the Panther Goddess Bass did with the Moon Knight series. So I think there's going to be some connection to it later.
Yeah. A subtle but firm reminder that Kang is out there and he's coming.
Yeah. And that's is going to make a joke that I will be too. But that's
demonetized.
But at that point, if you made it this far in the video, you should know what to expect. So that will be occurring as well. That was really one of the Easter eggs that I really loved about the plot. Did you notice anything kind of aside from the character development, some of the other Easter eggs maybe from it that you thought were really cool, if you wanted to share?
Yeah. So I mentioned the Enya thing. I think the MCU has a long history of cut F-bombs. And we've talked about that in several videos with Spider-Man, how Spider-Man 1 and 2 ended with a cut-off F-bomb. But it seems Stephen Grant is now the latest member of that exclusive club. I think we have, I know Nick Fury is one of them, and in the post-credit scene of Captain Marvel, Aunt May at the end of Spider-Man 1, Peter Parker at the end of Spider-Man 2. I looked this up, and apparently Groot says it too. I just don't know when.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Dang.
The cut off F bombers are Peter Parker, Aunt May, Nick Fury, and Groot.
No way.
Yeah, I think there are others too, but those are the.
What do you think? How do you think it comes out? I don't know when it was, but do you think it's like, I am Groot, and then that's when it cuts out, letting you know that last word of Groot there was actually the F bomb?
Maybe. Apparently, there's a fan theory that Vin Diesel actually is the only person that has access to what Groot's really saying.
Oh, like he has the script there?
Yeah, he has the translation on his script, so that he knows, like how to inflect his voice and what tone he should be speaking in.
And that's smart, yeah.
It sounds believable.
Yeah.
But, maybe he would know.
Yeah, who knows with that. That's pretty funny. I didn't notice that Groot or they really do have that, because I noticed for a few other TV series, is this like the F-bomb, like what's they can say, like, Mark says, shit, and I think damn it, whatever it might be, but what's the thing, like what's the voodoo there with the F-bomb? I don't really know what it is.
Work I think you're allowed a maximum of 2 F-bombs before you have to change your viewing rating to like R, maybe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's how it works. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's a pretty strict setting.
I guess that makes sense. It probably has to do with the ratings. I never really picked up on that. But that's pretty cool. And I should say, because we had one of those moments, what the fuck happened with Mark at the hilltop whenever he just killed 2 people? That's one of the things I noticed at the beginning there. It was kind of like our hint at possibly another personality, knowing that Steven and Mark kind of assured each other in the mirror that it was not them that committed that action. So do you think there's another personality going on there?
The more the merrier. I think so too. I think that would balance out the character even more. Stephen Grant's kind of like a harmless butterfly. Mark Spector's like the suave, mission-oriented Marine. And I get it would make sense if his third persona was just some sort of like murderous maniac.
And one of the things I'm really hoping is for Mark to reconnect with Khonshu, because as we saw, as you mentioned, that the costumes reflect the characters' personalities, and so we have Stephen Grant and Mark Spector. Mark Spector goes the Moon Knight one from the comics. Stephen Grant goes with the Mr. Knight. But those are really the only 2 costumes we have in the comics. We don't have a third one. So if that third personality, most likely being Jake Lockley, is introduced, you would need another costume. And I don't know about you, but I am really hoping we get to see that, because Moon Knight's, I'd say the costumes that they give these characters so far in the show have looked impeccable. They are very much accurate to the comic portrayals. And so I'd love to see another costume be introduced.
I would too. I think that he's one of the coolest looking characters so far in the MCU.
He is. He really is. He is the Batman, but dressed in full white. And honestly, I love it, because his whole rationale is that he wants villains to see him coming. He wants them to know. Isn't that so badass? He doesn't want to sneak up on him. He wants to know, yeah, you're mine, buddy. Don't even try and bother.
Health is not his preferred method of execution. He wants people to know that he's the one delivering their final blows.
And that's what, as you said, that's what the Ennead, the Egyptian gods, have a lot of problem with, and that's what's brought up. And one of the main questions is why did the Ennead leave Earth in the first place? There's a lot of theories, whether it was Gore, but they say, I think it was Horus who said that we didn't abandon humans, humans abandoned us. And one of the theories I saw is that they're possibly taking a stance similar to Phastos did, I believe it was in World War II within Eternals. and he said that the morals of humans are just like not really worth bothering. And so I think because of that, they possibly left Earth knowing that like they're beyond really saving, and they'll just kind of observe them from their own little, pocket dimension, celestial Heliopolis in their own world, like the Watcher does, kind of like not intervening anymore. But you have people like Amit, or gods like Amit and Khonshu, who believe that they should, in fact, it is a realm worth saving, and that they are going to do their best in order to help out. So what do you think could possibly be the reason for them abandoning Earth, if anything?
I honestly don't know. I was trying to speculate.
It's not clear at all. Like that's my best guess. Is just like the morals are just not there. One of the things is I also thought that since the Eternals, like, we have a lot of parallels to the Eternals and to the Watcher, and then also to these gods now, as to them like not intervening. I thought there might have been like another greater power up there, possibly with like maybe the Celestials threatened them a while back for intervening in the first place. And so because of that, then they're like, all right, we're going to retreat here. We're not going to really bother anymore. And so maybe Khonshu and Am are just trying to work on the down low there without like the, really pissing off the Celestials, knowing that like this Earth is like kind of their experimentation. But that's a very wild theory that I initially thought doesn't really have a whole lot of traction to it, but that's my only way to really like kind of connect the Eternals and the gods now. Because as you said, like a lot of these projects are starting to connect. It's just a matter of how and when. So that's my best guess. But those three, it's not clear. But that's what I love about it, just to kind of theorize and postulate as to what it could be.
Yeah, no, that's a good guess. I think it's something along the lines of that. And, the beauty of reviewing all of the possible theories is that when you see it in person, you can say that you were right.
Yeah. But then whenever they bring up the 5 other ones that you falsely tried to assume, then you're like, no, that...
The idiot thought that was going to happen.
It's just like the phone example from earlier. This is your wallet. That's not my wallet. So that makes this your wallet. That's not my wallet. So that's but I think like one of the last things I would like to do before we move on to the last segment is just like with the parallels and knowing how earlier we talked a little bit about Thor as well. I think that there are a lot of parallels with the Egyptian gods, and then also the Olympians, the gods kind of like Zeus, those that we will be seeing in Thor: Love and Thunder. So to kind of do like a little kind of intro to that and why I think there is some parallels, because you have the Ennead, the Egyptian gods reside again in the homeworld, Celestial Heliopolis, looks like a pyramid. Pretty cool callback to them actually meeting within the Great Pyramid of Giza. Pretty cool Easter egg right there. But the Olympians reside in their homeworld known as Olympus. So they do have ties to Thor, the Asgardians, which is pretty cool. We're going to see that. But I just think the fact that you have the Ennead kind of resides in the Overvoid, the Celestial Heliopolis. The Olympians reside in Olympus. And then in order to really connect the Earth to their homeworld, that's where you have the nexus, or a bridge between the homeworld and then and Earth. And so in order to get there, we have the place in Egypt. We have Kairos kind of serving as a little location there, serving as a nexus between the Egyptian gods and us. And then for the Olympians, it's the Mount Olympus in Greece, and then also with their homeworld, Olympus. So kind of like there is a common place for them to get here, and I kind of see that possibly being some way to further explain or kind of, again, create that parallel between the two different gods there and how they come to Earth. So very similar to the Norse gods with the Asgardians there, but I just thought it was pretty cool to bring up. I'm not really sure if it's that important, but I just thought as a way to explain, knowing that the Olympians might be coming into the next movie. So, sorry, that was a little. I guess that was a little tangent there. I'm not entirely sure
That's
how.
not a tangent. I've seen people draw parallels between the Bifrost and the other interdimensional gateways.
Yeah, we'll just see like how it really sounds like they're now starting to play like into gods themselves rather than just like the aliens as we saw. But I think since we just brought that up, it's probably a good point now to transition into our last segment, which is what the fuck is going on with Thor: Love and Thunder. So I think, do you have anything else to say from the 3rd episode of Moon Knight before we stop away?
We need to solve this mystery.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1.